Yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys have been awesome just putting this on and just hosting everybody. The fun, cool update that I wanted to share before we actually got into what we did this past year is that we actually just got another grant through Maine Sea Grant to be able to run this program again for this upcoming semester. So Atlantic Sea Farms, look for a email coming from us soon because we loved having you. So it's really cool to do this. We really wanted to run it again, and I'm so glad that we got the opportunity to kind of work on what we learned in this past year through this grant to be able to kind of like perfect it and tweak a little bit in this upcoming year. But I'll talk about this last grant. So the title was Bringing Aquaculturists and the Public Together Through sci-café Experience. I took over as the director of Canopy Farms in March of 2022, so it was smack dab in the middle of this grant program, so I had to learn pretty quickly kind of what we were doing and why and stuff like that. I was partnering with Dr. Theo Willis, who's kind of like our resident aquaculture expert at Canopy Farms. He helped me out a lot. And Canopy Farms is as a market and cafe. You'll see a picture of the building in the next slide, but we worked really closely together on this grant to be able to pull this off and host all these people. So if you want to go to the next one, please, that'd be great. Yeah, so this is a picture of our building right here. We're located in downtown Brunswick. And the idea of our building was kind of the brainchild of Chef Kara Stadler and her mom Cecile way back when they opened their first restaurant, which is right next door. Kara is really passionate about locally sourced ingredients in her cooking, and so she wanted to have access year-round to all those products that she loves using. So now we're a fully functioning greenhouse. We're raising brown trout and rainbow trout in our basement. We have the works almost set up for our shrimp system, which is also in the basement, and then which is the part you can see up top in the greenhouse is excuse me, where we're growing all of our produce. So we were uniquely designed to run this kind of program. Whenever like people are thinking of how can I host or gather people together, the cafe space is really kind of at least where I always thought of where people would gather in terms of kind of like that coffee house vibe. So I think this was great because this building was uniquely designed to run a science cafe or this kind of program. And Brunswick is just one of the many towns located on the coast of Maine. And it actually has a lot of local aquaculture operations. We didn't have trouble finding people to partner with at all, just because Southern Maine in particular has just so many different aquaculture operations. I think I talk more about that in the next slide of the different kinds that we went through. And our target audience was members of the public. So really people from all different walks of life. The science cafes were free. For people to just come and hang out, eat some snacks, drink some drinks, and then just learn more about their local aquaculturists and kind of the work that they were doing. It was definitely educators. We provided continued education credits to mainly middle and high school teachers and students. So we hosted, alongside of all the science cafe and cooking classes we did, we hosted, I think it was about 10 to 15 tours just from local middle and high schools and elementary schools and charter schools in our area, which was one of my favorite parts of the grant. I think I wrote this on our report, but one of the highlights was that we got, every time we brought students up the stairs into the greenhouse part of the building for the first time, they were like, whoa, this is so cool. And that's really cool because I work there every day. It's kind of lost its magic for me. So it was really cool to show them our like one of a kind designed building. So if you want to go to the next slide, that'd be great. Yeah, we had over 500 people directly reached with aquaculture education, whether that was through science cafes, cooking classes, school tours. I think there were, anywhere from like 20 to 30 students on each tour, and we ran like just a little, 10 to 15 of them. We created this really cool info sheet to be handed out at the beginning of the science cafe talk. It kind of explains like the global, broader scale of seafood production today. It was just like, where do we get our seafood? Why are we eating so much seafood? What are the impacts, climate and environment related otherwise, to eating seafood versus other meats or, things like chicken, beef, pork. Just lots of cool, really easy readable things for people to kind of look through and mull over as we're talking about our local aquaculture opportunities. And why it's important to shorten the supply chain. So why is it important to even eat seafood at all versus other forms of protein, and why is it important to where your seafood is located, and why it might be better for lots of different parties involved to eat locally sourced seafood versus seafood that's farmed overseas. And then also another big, probably my favorite, especially as we're heading into running a second round of these science cafes, is that this was such a great opportunity to strengthen the aquaculture partnerships of Maine. It took a lot of collaboration to make this project happen. So we had to collaborate with the team at Zauze to run this cooking class. That's a picture of one. We would host about 10 people each cooking class. And Kara would be highlighting the product that we were talking about. So if it was scallops, we would have them cook with like a dish with like a 2 or 3 course dish with scallops. If it was kelp, we were using kelp and all those different things. So it took a lot of collaboration to happen. So I know personally I've been introduced to like just a bunch of different aquaculturists in our area. We're also kind of like doing this cool thing where we're meeting together now. The partnerships that I've gotten that were already established with the Science Cafe is who we were going to highlight that year. We've been meeting and talking about like different collaborations and different ways that we want to be involved with the community. So I'm really excited to see that continue just in general. Another a woman we partner with who runs Emily's Oysters out of Bath, Maine. She comes to the Portland Farmers Market where we also sell our stuff. So it's just kind of like, it's a lot smaller than you would realize. That we thought that if we had aquaculturists coming from all over Maine, it'd be kind of big. But the people who are kind of trying to do locally sourced and who care about like triple bottom line principles, we find out, we're kind of a community. It's actually pretty small. I think there's one more slide. Yeah, so some of the challenges, like I said, I took over in the middle of this grant program, so I kind of inherited both the problems or the challenges and the successes of it, while kind of learning how to run a greenhouse in and of itself. So one of the challenges I think we came into early on was just scheduling speakers. Like, people are busy, these are farmers, and everybody's busy. It's always a challenge to kind of like ask people to take time out of their schedule to come to Brunswick, whether they were local or not, and do this thing that nobody's really done before. We had some low attendance for our May and June science cafes, and we kind of attributed this to really nice weather. Summer in Maine is really short, and so I imagined once people, because we had about like our capacity was about 30, because the cafe space is actually very small during the winter months, and that kind of dwindled down to about 5 to 6 in the May and June science cafes. And we were just like, yeah, it's nice out. People want to get outside and do more stuff other than sit in a cafe for 2 hours. And now we know that going into this next round of science cafes that we need to push that marketing harder. We need to do a lot more recruiting for those nice weather cafes, just so we can get people there and such. And COVID precautions during most of the program, most of it was held inside. I should say like 99% of it was held inside. So we just kind of had to work around the changing COVID precautions for most of the program. And some of the successes, like I said, we strengthened aquaculture partnerships in Maine. Like, that was one of my favorite parts. I think that we brought awareness to both the products, the opportunities, and sustainability to the public, as well as highlighting these farmers who maybe didn't have a platform to talk about why they do what they do or to highlight their products. Because being a farmer myself, I know that you have to wear a lot of hats, and it's not always the easiest thing to self-promote and do your marketing. So that was a great success of ours, that we got to highlight what is in our area to busy people. And we got to provide continued education credits to educators area and the opportunities for the tours and workshops for the students. That was really great. A lot of grants that I've been seeing have a lot to do with capacity building and future education and investment in that. I think people are starting to realize that it's important to pour into the next generation of people who are going to grow up and to be farmers or to be aquaculturists and stuff like that. So that was really cool to kind of host people who are just on the edge, like students who are just on the edge of like deciding what they want to do with their lives. Who knows, maybe we got to inspire them to be able to go into this field. And I think that's the last slide, right? Yeah, I'd love to answer any questions about anything about like the format or what we did. Yeah, that's that's old. And like I said, we were looking to expand it. So if you had any like roads we go down to, but we did. We're so lucky to be able to run this program again. So.
Thanks so much, Jenna. And we have some time for questions. If anyone has questions, you can either enter them in the chat box and I'll read them out, or you can feel free to take yourself off of mute and ask directly. We've got a compliment from Mary Meyer here in the chat box saying congrats on getting the funding. So Don Schreiner is asking, do you have or could you provide a reference to your one-page introduction handout?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where the format or like where everybody is who would have access to that, but I could drop it in our Google form or our Google folder so that you guys could distribute it or something like that. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenna.
Are the speakers paid to participate? Yeah, they are. We worked into the grant that we'd give all the speakers who attended a $100 honorarium. So they would get a $100 honorarium, compensation for their travel, and it was kind of like guaranteed purchase their product. So we would be purchasing some of their product for the snacks we'd serve at the Science Cafe, and then enough to run our 10-person or so cooking class.
So Devin's, it might say Brianna Shaughnessy, unfortunately, in the chat because of links, but she's saying she'd love to chat with you more about the science cafes and connecting on doing something similar.
Yeah, from what I understand, we didn't come up with this idea. I think the Science Cafe is like something that has been, we referenced it in our introduction when we wrote this grant. It is something that is supposed to be like replicated. And what I would say about this model is that the great part about it is that it's like replaceability or whatever that word is. It's really easy to replicate. And it's really easy for anybody who has access to some kind of space to be able to do. And it's just a way to like I said, just gather everybody, whoever's off the street in your local town, and be like, hey, come learn about seafood. Or come learn about whatever. It's just an informal gathering for people to kind of gather and exchange ideas or exchange opinions about whatever you happen to be talking about.
Hey, Jenna, I was wondering if you all are planning to, or maybe already are expanding this out to communities outside of like the education community, whether it's tourists that we get up in Maine or other audiences like that.
Yeah, I think our marketing is the big question mark, especially for those nicer weather months that we're going to be running them in May and June again this year. So we have for this year where we're going to be running it is going to be we're hoping to do end of February featuring Canopy Farms because that's easiest. So I'm the only one who has to coordinate that. I don't have to spring this on someone 2 weeks in advance. So we have 4 open months to be able to run this and kind of to plan. So yeah, I think our marketing is a big question mark for this one. As to what we could do, like I said, just to get more people in the cafe and more people kind of engaging with this model. So yes, would love input.
So Caitlin's asking, have you connected with anyone at Bowdoin? I'm sure students would be interested in joining the cafe.
Yeah, that's a good point. We actually have quite a few regulars. There's a big Asian population at Bowdoin, which makes our cafe really popular for them. So we have kind of a bunch of regulars who come to Bowdoin, from Bowdoin to the cafe. So it'd be really cool to be able to get this out onto the campus. I used to work on a college campus and I'm a recent graduate of college. So I know that flyers are actually just post them everywhere on campus. And just grab people's eye and get them interested and put your contact info on there and they'll be able to get the word out.
Great. If no one has any more questions, we can move ahead with our ahead of schedule agenda. If Devin is okay with going a little bit early. Yeah, awesome. So Devin, would you like